Welcome back, guys. It's been a very busy 2 weeks since our track day video. I'm Danny and this is Stock Car Surplus. Today we're jumping back on the Supra and man, I'm glad to get back on it. I've been wanting to get this project done for a while and just a lot of things have happened in between. Buying, selling, tires, cars, track day, Gen 7 projects, it's been crazy. A lot of people tell you working in the racing industry, don't own a race car because you'll either never want to work on it or never have time to work on it. So we're going to jump back on our Supra today. I've got an oil line bracket I've got to put on the bell housing. This hangs on the right side of the engine. It holds our feed and our return line on the right side. It's mounted down on the lower portion of the bell housing. This is a Toyota Phase 14. It's got one race on it, 200 miles and 40 laps of practice. My good friend, Mr. Jeff Collins, tore that engine down, went through it, looked at the bearings, rods, and mains, resealed it, put a new set of valve springs in it, and it's ready to go. It's been lashed and leaked, and we're gonna hang it in the car today. I need to get this bracket on it. I'm not gonna hang a transmission on it until I get it in the car. I've got a MidValley on the left and a G-Force on the right. They're geared within less than a tenth of each other, and they're both road course specific transmissions. They're 29 spline input. We're using a triple disc 7 1/4 inch clutch, reverse mount starter. The only difference in the G-Force is that the transmission shifter is back about an inch and down an inch in difference to the MidValley. So let's hang this bracket on the motor, then we're gonna get that in the car and work on the transmission. Let's get started, guys. Before we get the engine hung in the car, I need to mount this bracket on my bell housing here. As you can see, this is my return for my dry sump, and this is my feed, and both of them hang loose. This bracket holds them in place. So what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna cut the safety wire off the bottom of this line, and then we'll rehang that. Now both lines are loose, I can rotate this some and get my fittings and everything on it. So what we're gonna do, I disassemble this bracket. And the way the bracket's held together, your lines go through it and then an O-ring is captured in the channel of the bracket. The two flanges bolt together, make a compression, hold it in place, keep it from vibrating. So let's go through and get this set up. So after about 30 minutes of fiddling with it, come to find out, this is the wrong bracket for this side. This is actually for a right side oil pump setup. And I was wondering why my lines wouldn't fit. Well, that's why. I called my friend at the Cup team I got this from, and he informed me there are two different brackets and that he assumed that I had a left side oil pump. So I'm gonna pick that up tomorrow. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna slide some heat shrink. Well, it's not really heat shrink, it's fire braid sleeve. We're gonna slide this over to the line and we're gonna safety wire these in place for the time being so that I can get this engine in the car. And once I get that bracket, I will bolt it on and use it to hold those in place. But this is only a temporary fix. So let's get this done real quick. We'll bang this out. We'll hang it in the car. We'll go from there. So this is my temporary solution. The lines aren't going to get hung on anything, and I can check for header fitment once I get it in. I'm going to leave the steel lines. A lot of the older stuff, particularly on Fords, you see a ton of braided lines running all over the place. I like the steel lines tucked in close to the engine, keeps everything out of the way. The only thing I have coming off of here is my feed line. So here is my return, and there's my feed. Keeps the setup pretty simple. Everything else is going to be in front of the motor. I don't have lines running across the top of the motor, around the headers, underneath. Once it's in the car, we'll simply have a line go across the back of the engine to our hard lines, straight back to the oil tank. Keeps the plumbing super simple. So let's go ahead and get this thing hoisted up. We'll put it in the car. We'll hang it there. I'll stick the motor mounts on the front so that we can position it and kind of get it where we want it, and let the back hang down some so I can slide the transmission in. Let's make it happen. So far my position is good. Up next we're going to bolt the motor mounts on. I'm going to try and get the motor to move back a little bit further than what it was, but I'm not so sure how much room I'm going to have. So I may have to mount it exactly where it was before. I wanted to try and get it back another 2 or 3 inches, but I think with the starter setup that I have, I'm not sure if this tunnel is going to clear it. So we're going to have to take a look at that first. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get the motor mount bolts in, and we're going to position it in place. And I'm not going to set the level or pinion or transmission angle or the engine angle yet. I'm not going to do that until I get it up on setup blocks and I square the rear end housing. Then I'll set the pinion angle coming off the transmission going to the rear. For now, we're just getting the motor bolted in. So far, it appears that our starter is going to clear once the engine's up and level. What I need to do now is measure from the back of the bell housing to the back of our shifter hole is 30 inches. And from the back of our transmission bell housing to the opening is about 19. So let's go measure our shifters on the transmissions and we'll see which one's going to fit. Then we'll stick it in here and get the cross member in. So let's stick a straight edge across the mounting surface here and measure back and we'll see what we got. So 19 was the opening and 30 was the end. And we're right at 24.5 on the G-force. And we are right at 23 on the MidValley. I think I'm going to go with the MidValley. I like MidValley, so I got a bunch of parts for these, and I have a couple more of them. It's the same transmission I have in the truck, so we're going to go with that. All right, let's get this thing off the stand. And we'll put this bolt here. And we'll get it off the carrier. Slide the carrier out of the way. We'll get into position here. And there we go. Went right in. So we'll throw 2 bolts in it. There's one. We'll put one over here. Looks like our shifter position is going to be perfect. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. All right, so let's jack up this transmission. I'll get the cross member. We'll get some more hardware and we'll get it held in place. Let's take all of this and set it in place. Well, we are close, but I think I'm gonna have to take a little bit off the front of that because it's hitting my case. But it also needs to go up higher. So what I'm gonna have to do is get a block of wood, and I think once it's up higher, it will clear better, and we'll have a lot more room. I think it'll fit better as well. Let's stick this in here as a precaution. All right, I'm gonna let this down and grab a block of wood. Hold that there. The ins and outs and the goods and bads of working at home are not having everything that you want or think you need. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna mount our transmission mount. So here we are under the car, and if you look at the transmission mount, you see there's a flat side and a curved side. We're gonna use the flat side up against the base of the transmission. We're gonna get it held up in place with some hardware. Once I get it held up in place, I'm gonna mark this hardware so I can drill it for safety wire. But everything is gonna be up and loose so we can figure out just exactly where our transmission crossmember needs to be and where the tail shaft of the transmission needs to be as far as moving left to right. Because I can also move the bracket a little bit left to right, so we can get all this in here and mark it. So many of you are probably wondering, why don't I safety wire these two bolts? Well, I extended the length so I could put a full-size nylon lock nut on here. It sticks through completely, and it comes through the threads, and it sticks out about 1/8 of an inch past the end of the bolt. So the nut's not going to go anywhere. For this bolt to come out, the nut will have to completely come off the end of the crossmember bolt, and the bolt will have to come out through the front of the car, which is the opposite direction of travel in which it's going. So the bolt would have to lose the nut, shake through, come out the front, and fall down against the direction of traffic that it's going. I have no worry about this falling out. Now, transmission crossmember bolts holding the mount on and holding it to the transmission, I do, because they can loosen and vibrate and back themselves out and fall straight down. So we'll safety wire these. Nice. Let's clean this up, get the motor mount secured, and take a look at where we're at. Well, the engine and transmission are in. I'm happy with where it's sitting. I'm happy with the way it lines up. Nothing touches. The oil pump doesn't touch the chassis. Fuel pump is clear. The transmission is sitting right where I want it. We will adjust it a little bit. We'll work on the driveline angle once we get it up on elephant stands for the final setup. We'll adjust the pinion angle as well. I'm happy with where we're at for today. I didn't think I'd actually get this much done today, but we did. I've got 6 or 7 sets of headers that I want to try, but I'm waiting to get the tailpipes back before I do that. The next thing I'm going to do is work on the fuel cell and a lot of the small stuff. It's the old 80-20 rule. 80% of the build takes 20% of the time, and that last 20% takes 80% of your time. It's a pain in the butt, but now we're getting to the point where we're gonna have to start working on all the little things. A lot of people have asked why I haven't done anything with the front suspension yet, and a big part of that is the headers. I need to find out where my header clearance is for the A-frame. If I don't have enough clearance, I can try a different set, or I can adjust the A-frame length once I get it up on setup stands. But the first thing I need to do is make sure I've got a set of headers that fit and clear where we're at now. I'm going to give you a walk around, show you some of the stuff that I've done and where we're going next. Here we are with the engine mounted. I've got it right where I want it. Like I said, we've got clearance underneath our oil pump. We've got clearance all around our fuel pump. The engine is sitting level where it's at. And like I said, I need to check header clearance on the left and right between the head and the control arm. And if I don't have enough clearance here, I can shorten up my control arm. These are 9s on it now. I can go as short as an 8 and still make it a negligible amount of camber gain and take a couple of the shims out of it. But I have to check and see how many sets I have first. If this becomes an issue in here, like I said, I can always shorten this up. I like where it's sitting. We're clearing on the balancer. Our harmonic balancer clears on the bottom. Oil pan clearance is good. I like where the transmission is at. On the interior of the car, you can see where our shift handle landed. It's perfectly centered right in the middle of the actual hole. So that's going to be good for shifter location and once I get the seat in. I've mocked up my carbon floor pan and some carbon leg boards. Once I get the seat back from Randy, we'll get it mounted. We'll get everything set up in here. This is pretty simple. I've got to run some hose for our ductwork in the rear, and then we're going to wire both our temperature probe and our heating element for the dry sump tank. I've also got to punch a hole in the can. I'm probably going to put a hole in the back right here so I can run my dry sump tank vent through the package tray in the middle and put the vent tank on the right side in the rear. I've also got to run my hose for my brake ducts on the rear as well. It's just a lot of small stuff that's coming now. I've got everything set up in the back. I was also able to get my hose shortened, and everything's clamped up for my dry sump lines on underneath. So this is completely done too. What we're gonna do in the front, this runs up to the front and then comes up the front of the firewall. And where we come up in the front of the firewall is right down there. And like I said, that's going to cross over from down there across the back of the engine and come into our lines right here. This keeps all of the plumbing out of the way as far as the headers, heat, moving objects. This is the best route to put it. I've also made a template for my carbon dash. I got to take this and drop it off to a friend of mine. He's going to cut me a piece of carbon on a water jet. Here's a better look at the shifter. Things are moving along nicely, and I'm happy with the way things are going. Well, guys, that's it for this episode. But before we go, I had a few people ask the validity of this car. I had a few people say, oh, that burgundy car you showed with the Xfinity body, that was just a Gibbs GameStop car and everything. It wasn't. It was this car, and I know it was this car because I saw the body get cut off of it, and I still have part of the body. Over here, I pulled it out of storage. There's the hood and the deck lid off the burgundy car. And I know that because it came directly from the fab shop when that body was cut off and this body was put on. A lot of people have also asked about hoods. I'll give you a quick walk around real quick. That is a Tony Stewart hood. That's actually from a commercial. If you look back in, I think, 04, 05, you'll see Jeremy Mayfield saying, back up, you're good, you're good, you're good. And they back a hauler over Tony Stewart's car and crunch it. That's the hood off of it. That's a great railing one. I got that directly from Mr. James Hilton himself. Next to it, Kenny Schrader, Pedigree Pontiac. Darrell Waltrip, Western Auto Lumina. Bobby Labonte, Interstate Pontiac. Terry Labonte, Kellogg's Monte Carlo. Ward Burton Dodge. The next one was a Casey Kane Dodge, and it's white and painted like this because Aaron Crocker ran it in an ARCA race. This is a Joe Nemechek Furniture Row hood. That is Steve Park, Tommy Baldwin's old blue tribute car that ran at New Hampshire. Next to it, Valvoline, Matt Kenseth. Next to that, number 46, Advance Auto Parts, Riley Herbst, number 46 KBM truck. That's the bed cover off of it. Next to that, Chris Fontaine, the Freak, Toyota Tundra. Below that, that is, what's his name? Kyle Larson, Charlotte winner, 2014. Next to that, we've got Ross Chastain in Kyle Busch autograph. That is Elliott Sadler, One Main, Joe Gibbs Toyota. Above that, the number 42 Toyota Tundra Reveal truck from 2003. You'll see a picture of it online. It's got like Darrell Waltrip, I think. Darrell Waltrip, Robert Huffman, Larry Mack, and a few other people standing around it. Above that, Scott Speed, Red Bull. Next to that, that would be Brendan Gaughan, South Point. Below that, Ryan Priest, Mizzy Construction, JD Motorsports. On the left, Brendan Poole, DC Solar. Above that, Stuart Friesen and Halmar. Then to the left, you got Bobby Gerhart. I think that was the number 85 Lucas Nationwide Series Camaro. Sam Hornish, Dodge Challenger from Penske. The next one, that's a cool one. It's a Diet Mountain Dew wrap on a Toyota hood that came off of the Dale Call jump car in the commercial. If you slow the commercial down for the Dale Call in the swamp, you'll see it's a Toyota COT wrapped. Next to it, Daryl Haar, Johnny Davis. Next to it, Kevin Harvick, Hunt Brothers Pizza. That was the Junior Motorsports car. Then you roll around this way, you'll see Daniel Suarez, KBM Eris Truck. Then Chris Wright, and then the next one to that, that was a promo idea that Toyota was going to do at the Daytona 500. They were going to wrap like 20 of these and give them away to fans, but the idea fell through. That's the only one in existence. If you look at the pace car from that year, it's an exact copy of the pace car hood, and that's the only one there is. All right, guys, it's been a long day. I'm sweating. I'm tired. I'm going inside to eat dinner. I appreciate you watching. Please comment, subscribe below. Tell me what you think. I appreciate it. Talk to you guys next time.